said, tell him about your product. So I shipped him the ATP meter and swabs. No, it's all right. Before you put the pizza on the table, swab the table.
Now tell me again, what's this ATP meter? How does it work?
So ATP meter, this thing was developed by NASA.
Okay.
A technology that was developed to study it, to see if there's life in outer space. And these scientists discern, how do we determine if there's life in outer space? Well, what's the key element to life that we can trace?
Carbon.
Carbon. And what happens when in the Krebs cycle when carbon, I don't know, what is it made? Is it made or it's
carbon is an element.
That's in the Krebs cycle. Because there's two, the glucose splits into two carbons. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so when that happens inside the Krebs cycle, it releases it's a byproduct of the Krebs cycle, which is ATP, adenosine triphosphate.
Yes.
And ATP, they determine if anything has metabolism, they go down to that very core. If it has a metabolism, it has ATP, or it's putting off ATP. So now, how do we test for ATP? Well, the firefly that bioilluminates at night, the reason it's bioilluminating is because there's a chemical, and I think it's lactoferrin, or something like that. Anyway, or lactin. Anyway, that chemical matches up to it comes in contact with the ATP of the fly, and that causes a bioluminescence. So what the scientists did was they took a swab that you're going to pick up ATP with, and a swab a surface for that looking for organic material, like putting off ATP. And when you get that on the swab, at the very top of the swab, just like a SNAP heartworm test,
right,
it has a chemical that when you snap it, it releases that chemical, same that's found in the firefly, and it causes that swab to bioilluminate, not necessarily to the naked eye, but they've built a luminometer that measures light, and it gives it a objective measurement between 0 and 10,000. Okay, and there's been many studies that came out of Europe, because European hospitals started using this technology to try to validate their cleaning protocols, to reduce hospital-acquired infections, and that spread quickly into many different food services. The USDA requires food services when they're preparing meats they have to test the surface, and it has to be below a certain level before and if it's not, they have to clean that surface again and get it to that level before they can start preparing meat. Hospitals do the same thing. Surgery rooms have to be below a certain level, such as 10. Exam rooms and patient contact rooms have to be below 30. And then general public areas like waiting rooms can be as high as, I believe it's 100. But if they're not, they fail. Well, some of the best disinfectants on the market today are hydrogen peroxide, and they come with cleaners, saying that you don't have to clean before you disinfect because we're adding a cleaner. Well, really, they added a surfactant as a wetting agent, so it stays wetter longer on the surface because they have dwell times of 5 and 10 minutes. But the surfactants aren't good cleaners. And we've proven that in our competitive study that you saw, our competitive challenge, where we look at that surgery table, and we measured the surgery table before.
Is that where I saw that the YouTube channel,
yes,
the YouTube video where you were measuring this? Okay,
right. We used two of the best disinfectants in the market, Rescue and the quaternary ammonium, and we measured those tables after they would sat their full contact time, and they only reduced the organic load by half. That doesn't mean it didn't kill the 99.999% of bacteria. I'm sure they did. But it left that much organic material on the table. And if you're not killing 100% of the bacteria, then there's some left.
Exactly.
And you can either feed them with that organic material that's left, or they'll starve out because there's no organic material there for them to eat. And what's funny is as quickly as these pathogens replicate, some of them as quick as 20 minutes, within an 8-hour shift, you're back to the exact load it was that you tried to kill to begin with. So one pathogen one colony-forming unit can become 1 million within 7 hours. So what are we really doing if we are providing that food source for what we're leaving on what our disinfectants don't kill? So the EPA mandates certain steps, and the step before disinfectant is clean with soap and water to remove that organic material.
Right.
Right. And then you.
But even those products don't. I guess they would score really, really high on the ATP meter.
The cleaning products.
Yeah.
Only?
Not yours. The ones you were just talking about.
The disinfectant. That's right. They get a high score. They're coming in around 600 on a table that was originally 1,000. Or maybe knocking things in half, and where the ZBioVet will take it down to usually single digits. if I clean the table, saturate it well with Z-Biovet and clean it, I will get it down into single digits. And I'll use a microfiber cloth and use proper technique, starting in the inside, moving to the out, and I can get it down to single digits. So that's our challenge, is to educate on not only the proper technique, but using the proper products and using the proper protocol.
And this is I like calling it an enzyme. This is like an FDA approved enzyme that works across all biofilms and is approved for food coatings and food prep by the FDA.
For surfaces, before food preparation, that's correct. But
not in humans.
Well, that is humans.
Okay, I'm just making sure. I had to ask that question. I'm a veterinarian, because there's that prejudice.
Most human hospitals are using it. There's a study, I think the study is out of Europe, that showed they actually put a correlation to an ATP result. So if your result is below 100, they correlate that to you've reduced the colony forming unit load down to 2.5 meters squared. So that's very, very few colony forming units, right? And if they don't have a food source, they're going to die. So, but what I want you to study is the probiotic bacteria that they use in probiotics.
Right.
Okay, is generally a bacillus, from what I'm learned.
Okay.
And
it's one of them.
There is a lot of studies now, recently, that have come out this year even, that are showing that certain species of bacillus are not only antimicrobial, they're antiviral. They eradicate biofilm by 99%. They are anti-adhesion, meaning that the bacteria are not able to adhere to surfaces once this is once this is applied to them, and so that they're easily wiped away. So that's the kind of things I'd like the company to be focusing on their studies, but it doesn't mean that veterinarian could know.
Or even do it in an anecdotal way. If somebody wants to do an official FDA-approved study, they can do that. But in the meantime, we can make sure that we educate and see if it works.
Yeah. Now, as related to COVID, COVID has been shown that there was that article that came out, the study out of Sydney.
Oh, which one? There's only like 20,000.
No, but one of the original ones that was talking about how do we keep ourselves clean, and the basis was, it was a physicist out of Sydney that said wash your hands, and for 20 seconds, because soap was more effective than alcohol, because it was a lipid layer that protects this protein, and that the lipid would fall apart quickly when a detergent is used, and it falls apart, like in his words, was a house of cards. Deactivates that virus. So the company Z Bioscience is now working to prove that, and if so, that would be very effective, because now think about this: you could apply these live bacteria to a surface. These live bacteria are making their own biosurfactants, which this study that we just talked about shows that it's antiviral, antimicrobial, eradicates biofilms, anti-adhesion, all these great properties that are in a natural form without using chemicals, and they produce this for over 72 hours. So if you could protect a surface for 72 hours by just spraying on a layer of probiotics, how effective and how revolutionary would that be?
Yeah, but see, just so you know, there's going to be people that are going to look at this and go, okay, every time we start screwing with Mother Nature, take one of those bacteria.
This isn't screwing with Mother Nature. This is, what do you have on your skin?
We are
right
adding
now?
that organism a million more places than it's ever been.
What's on your skin right now?
I'm not saying it's not normal now, but imagine the pathologic effect not being the organism itself, but the number of organisms.
Yeah.
Okay. Something doesn't have to eat your skin to actually.
Imagine the effect of sterilizing surfaces. Sterilizing surfaces. How natural is that? It's not at all, is it?
No, it's not at all.
All right. So imagine the effect of sterilizing surfaces so that pathogens have no competition in the scientific principle of competitive exclusion, right? Competitive exclusion says if you have two species that are competing for the same resources, they cannot coexist. So if
that's like, look around you. It does exist.
No, not two species like it. I mean, that's a scientific principle. We can't anecdotally argue that.
No, it's called evolution. Look around you.
No.
All of these creatures are vying for the same base at the same time, and they each found a niche. Each bacteria is the bird,
right. But in an environment where you have limited resources, okay, and there's two species. Say you and I, we have the same food source, food requirements.
Yeah.
And we're in an area with limited resources.
Scott, I'd help you out, man. I really would.
I know you would, but at some point you're going to get hungry and you're going to say, you know what, we're going to have to fight to the death here because I'm about to eat you, right? Because that's what, and you know, and we're talking about a single cell organism that, you know, is not as kind as you are. So anyway, back to this scientific principle that you can argue with at any time with somebody who knows better than I do. Two species competing for the same limited resources cannot coexist. I guess, you know, my point is getting back to if the science is what it seems to be. Would you rather have a chemical that you have to continuously put onto a surface and it only works when it's wet, and you have to sit there and waste 10 minutes of your day waiting for it to dry? Or would you rather use something that's more in line with nature, that's more organic? And
I already like your product. I mean, don't get me wrong. The way we discussed this several times. I just added the camera because we were discussing we should sit together and talk one day. And I'm like, dude, we're talking right now. So anyway,
my point is, I know that you would like it. I'm just saying, don't you see that would be a revolutionary?
I mean, I see a great place for it. Right now, of the creatures that I treat, okay, I have to worry if a frog comes through my door, or a salamander, or an amphibian or something like that. You know, something that's really, 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 really sensitive to the environment. I can't just set them on any table.
Yeah.
I don't care how disinfected it is. The disinfectants themselves can actually hurt that creature. So I don't want something that's really chemically, and if this is much safer for them, then this is going to be awesome.
Yeah. It is awesome. Because,
how are we going to design the Daisy experiment?
What do you think is more, I guess, what's a good word? Less stable of a life, a hen or a chicken, a turkey, or Well, I guess what I'm getting at is you're gonna have to edit this part out.
No. I mean, come on, let's hear it.
What I'm getting at is, if this is used in poultry barns and turkey houses, and it's not only sprayed on top of them, but it goes to their drinking lines continuously to keep biofilm from growing in their drinking lines. And the results are that they get to wait quicker than those that aren't being treated with this. And when they're clean, they're healthier, bigger, longer intestines, or they're 25% longer, I believe it was. You saw that rate of results in agricultural or these grow houses where these are very fragile birds. That's the word I think I was looking for. Is fragile. Wouldn't
you ask me which bird was more fragile?
Well, I'm asking you: would you think that these hen or these chickens and turkeys are more fragile than these exotics that you're working with?
They are part of the exotics that I work with.
Yeah. So which one is more fragile
All right. What are my choices again? Sorry.
To cleaners and chemicals, and which is more fragile, these birds or lizards?
I would say amphibians.
Turtles?
They're reptiles. But a water turtle, again, can be quite sensitive to things that are around it. So you don't want to set them on anything. And when you set them on a sample, if your sample comes off of that, how do you know you're not picking up a sample from the last animal? Anyway, we're Grasshopper Island. Oh, if you didn't know this, the camera is running. Okay.
I figured that.
Grasshopper Island. During the pandemic, these guys are over here, doing some social distancing. Scott pointed it out 2 hours away. These guys
that
are
might
here.
Just be normal guy behavior.
I just saw them take their masks off, but they're okay. I love Mississippi.